Hey guys, DG Rene here, and I brought along a friend of mine, past District Governor Mary Berge from Pennsylvania. She's a clinical psychologist, and she is here to kind of help us work on what we could spend our 30 minutes a day with our mental or physical self-care. But more importantly, she's kind of here to help us identify maybe a few of the things that we've been seeing as we've been doing some of this self-reflection. So we're going to take about a half hour today. So this can count as your half hour today for the challenge if you'd like it to. She's going to help us identify some things that can help us distinguish the differences between stress and anxiety, maybe give us some techniques to use as we move through this. So I'm just so excited. It can help us provide the volunteer passions that we have. It can help us provide community service. If we're taking care of ourselves, self-care, we can provide service above self. And so we know that we've been talking about this at our club meetings, at our district team meetings. And so now Mary's here to help us maybe give us some tips so we can get even better at this. So I really appreciate you taking time out on a holiday weekend to talk to me, Mary. It means a lot. And I
My
thank you
pleasure.
for lending your expertise.
Absolutely
So,
my pleasure, Renee. I'm excited to do this. I've been talking about mental health and taking care of ourselves to a lot of incoming leaders recently. And what we're finding is that, we got like great plans in place for business, family, home, leadership in Rotary, for our Rotary clubs and our community, but we often fail to have a wellness plan for ourselves. So I really want to focus on how to give yourself a better wellness plan and how to manage stress, anxiety on a short-term basis, but also more long-term, more preventatively. So
oh, I love
first, I
that.
thought
I
it'd be
love
a great idea to just talk a little bit about what the difference is between anxiety and stress, because they're not the same thing, not at all.
But
But
we
we
often
often,
just put them together, right? We're
yeah,
like,
or
oh,
we use
stress and
them
anxiety. I have stress and anxiety. Yeah.
Or we use them interchangeably. You'll hear a lot of people say, I'm so anxious or I'm so stressed, but they may mean one or the other because they're not the same. They're not.
Right.
So, stress is a mental state that is a reaction basically to something that has a specific origin. It's very something that's happening in your life, and it typically is eliminated once that issue is over. So it's more of a mental state of mind about something that's ongoing. So, you have a big workload or you have a lot of meetings to get to, so you feel stressed because it's just a lot on your plate. That's more of a stress reaction. Whereas anxiety is more of a psychological state versus a cognitive state that is characterized by persistent feelings of apprehension and dread. It's persistent. Whether the thing that you're dreading or apprehending is real or imagined, whether it's legit or not, it's a persistence of that. And it can often be in situations that actually aren't threatening. Whereas, unlike stress, anxiety will persist after the thing passes on, or again, whether it's real or perceived. So based on that, why does that happen? So in our psyches, in our minds, in our psychological state, we often think about fear and we start to what if this thing's coming up, or what if somebody says this, or what if this happens? And that creates a space in our head that we begin to visualize this fear as just huge, overwhelming, especially when we're saying what if. Anxiety thrives on the what if mindset. Anxiety cannot exist if you're mindfully present and you're in the present moment. It just doesn't.
Wow.
Anxiety also really loves the past, the would have, could have, should have's that we say to
Yep,
ourselves.
I'm familiar with that. Very
Yeah,
familiar with that.
absolutely loves that state of mind too. So if
Yeah.
you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, it's persisting, you're probably either in the future or in the past with the what ifs or the would have, could have, should have's. Once you catch that cognitive thought process, you can learn how to mindfully bring yourself back to the middle, which is the presence, the absolute present, right here, right now. And anxiety really cannot exist in the present. So that's first, I think, the most key point to begin our conversation. So that's the difference. There are a lot of techniques you can use to reduce stress and anxiety. So I'm going to kind of talk in categories.
Okay.
Let's first talk about your environment. So Rene, I don't know about your environment at home, but when you think of something soothing in your environment, or if you picture a room that seems soothing to you and calming, can you describe it for me just really briefly, like in 10 words or less?
It is on my back porch.
Okay, that's a room to me.
I have
Outside
a
is room.
roof.
A roof.
I have a little couch, and I can be alone.
Okay. And what else do you notice about the environment when you're outside on that porch?
I noticed that depending on the weather, I'll either can feel the sun on my skin, or I can feel maybe a breeze or the crispness in the air, but I can very much feel like a temperature comes to
And what do
mind.
you see?
Green and trees, nature,
And what
my
do you
shed.
hear?
Dogs barking, crickets, sometimes leaves rustling, maybe kids in the background,
Yeah. Okay. So
horns
you notice
honking.
that Renee just kind of tapped into all of her senses. She talked about what she saw, what she heard, what she felt on her skin, all of that. And also like the comfort of it. You said the couch, you're covered, you're
Yeah.
not in the sun now. Sun. So all of that is very soothing. So
Yeah.
our environments are very, very important to our stress
Okay.
levels and ways to reduce our anxiety. So when you think about your environments at home, I want you to consider, is there a place that you find comforting? If so, great. If not, you can create that. It can be your entire house or your entire outside. It doesn't really matter, but there are some things you can do to improve your comfort zone to begin to reduce anxiety. One of the key things I love to recommend to my clients, my patients, my friends and family is aromatherapy. And this is a real deal. I mean, some people think it's hokey and it doesn't really work, but trust me, it really, really works. So some of the most calming scents for people are lavender, chamomile can even come in a scent, sandalwood, cedarwood, and patchouli actually. So, and you can mix these together to create a smell. And do I have my diffuser? I think I moved my diffuser. The diffusers come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, and what have you. You can get them online. You can buy them at Walmart, wherever. But a diffuser, little container that you pour a little water in, you drop a few drops of oil in there, and it just lets out a little bit of steam, and it begins to diffuse the scent into the room. You can also buy these in rollers that you can put onto your skin
Wow.
with essential oils. And you
Nice.
can also buy lots of lotions and things that create a scent. You can even buy sprays for your rooms that create a scent that you find very calming and peaceful. And aromatherapy consistently, when used consistently, or in an acute stress reaction, can absolutely begin to calm the system through the oils, through ingesting, i.e. through the nose, through the skin. There's some you can even drink in water. It can absolutely begin to calm the physiological, neurological, autonomic nervous system responses to stress and anxiety. So
Wow.
that's a great one right
So I
there.
have a question. Now, is that an automatic response the first time? Like if you're having a stressful situation and you just like sniff it, or is it something that your body becomes used to so then it knows that to have that response? Okay, so it's just like
No, it's
automated
just natural and
wow.
automatic.
Okay.
The more you use it,
Cool.
I think that your brain becomes
Becomes friendly. It knows
yeah,
that it's there to
anticipatory, and
calm
it's like,
down.
oh, that smell, and
Oh,
so
thank God.
it gets reinforced. It's basically behavioral
Right.
reinforcements. It's Pavlov's dog. The more you
Mhm.
do this,
Right.
the more your brain remembers that that felt good.
Okay.
Things that feel good, we will repeat.
Right.
Okay, things that
Right.
induce calm or improve dopamine or serotonin or norepinephrine in our brain, that functioning between the neurons and the release of those neurotransmitters. The more of that we have in our brain, the more our brain will want that. And when we see it happening in our brains, it'll go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And it will
Wow.
immediately remember what to do in a faster way. So it's preventative as well as it can be learned and to be improved. We do a lot of deprogramming, reprogramming in my business when people have over anxious brains. And we train the brain to recognize relaxation and calm responses much faster, easier, and more consistently as we reprogram. So
That's awesome. And I guess that's probably maybe the driving force that takes me to the gym. Because I was never a gym rat
yeah.
before. And now if I can't go, I'm upset.
Right, because
um,
you're getting an endorphin release as
yes,
well as a
when
neurotransmitter.
I walk out of the
Yeah.
gym, I feel good,
Right, so you've got
tired,
an
but
increase in
good.
serotonin, especially with exercise.
Yeah.
Serotonin, there's been lots of research, big boosts of serotonin are released during exercise. And then often if it's a strenuous exercise, you'll have the endorphin, which you may know as like a runner's high or something. That's an
Yes.
endorphin that
Yes.
kicks in.
I do get that on occasion. If I have a really good
Yeah,
body combat session and I'm just punching all
yeah.
the air, I come out of it and I'm like, "Woo."
Endorphins are often released
Amazing.
too. It's sort of an addictive cycle, but to exercise a lot of times, but also endorphins are released to hot and spicy foods. And
Ooh,
that's what makes people compelled to keep eating them, even though they're sweating and such, because there's an endorphin that's very similar to an opioid.
really?
Yes, it's almost like
Wow. I
the
can't
magic
handle very
invisible
spicy food. I just
opioid,
can't. The
and so
rest of my body says, nope.
your body will release an endorphin that acts as a painkiller. Um,
Wow.
and so your body will be like, ooh, that kind of feels good. And so your body will be like, let me just have one more bite. Let me just have one more bite.
Just one more. You can cry through it.
Exactly. My husband always tells me,
Wow.
step away from the curry, Mary.
I did.
Like just
I
keep
didn't
eating
even
it.
know that. That's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
our
Okay.
brains and bodies are fascinating things. But that was a scent
Okay.
thing you can do. I also want to
Okay.
talk about sound because as you mentioned, what we hear in our safe space or our happy space or what have you, again, for me, it's often outdoors too, is sound. But when I'm indoors or and as I was doing today on my way to work on my phone, there's some things that you can play through YouTube or iTunes or Spotify that induce incredible calmness. And I'm going to explain why first before I tell you what they are.
Okay.
So, in the back of your brain, you have two little almond-shaped things. They're called the amygdala. There's one on each hemisphere. And the amygdala is our wonderful response system to threat. So think of it as your fight, flight, freeze, fire alarm. And we need it. And if you're going to step off the curb and a bus is coming, and it
Right.
honks at you, your body needs to have an autonomic nervous response to propel your body backwards. But that doesn't happen until that amygdala fires a fire alarm, shoots off a fire alarm. So when you feel that, like, that's your amygdalas. Amygdalas can kind of get stuck on or like hyperactive. And that's what we see when somebody has an anxiety disorder. Again, anxiety is a perpetual feeling of doom, worry, just characterized by, believing that I have a sense of dread, apprehension that this thing's never going to end. And sometimes anxiety needs to be there for long periods of time. But people who have anxiety disorders sort of have this hyperactive amygdala, or it's just sort of stuck on. It can also
Wow.
just be firing too often to perceived threats that aren't really there. So you'll hear people say, I have a panic attack for no reason. That's their amygdala sending off the fire alarm when
Wow.
there is no threat in their system, in their environment.
Wow.
So that's a panic attack. It is a neurological thing. It's real, and it causes an
Wow.
autonomic nervous system response. So what we do with people who are in a lot of states, conscious and continuous state of anxiety or have developed actual disorder is, again, we begin to retrain the brain to learn how to deactivate the amygdalas and how to sort of untrain them to be responding to stimuli that isn't real, perceived threats, distorted thoughts, what if thinking, could have, would have, should have been. All that can become parts of, can create anxiety disorders. So sound is one of the strongest ways that we're finding in our field of research to get the amygdalas to turn off. This in combination with a couple of other things. First of all, if you've ever gotten a massage at a spa somewhere, which most of us have, you'll notice that they're playing music in the background typically. And more often than not, that is music that we call alpha waves.
Right.
So you can go to YouTube and look up alpha waves, 2 words.
Okay.
And an alpha wave is a sound wave that's played at a particular hertz. A lot of them are at 435 hertz. And for some reason, that sound wave turns off your amygdala system or quiets it, even if it's not on, it sort of dulls it, if for layman's speak, and creates an incredible sense of calm in the body and in the mind. It's very hard for the amygdalas to compete with alpha waves. So you may notice that when you're in a spa or getting a massage that you almost fall asleep. And a lot of people think that it's the massage, but often it's the actual alpha waves creating such calm and such a sense of centered peace that your body just starts to go into sleep mode because it's relaxed.
Wow.
So alpha waves are a wonderful sound. They're beautiful. I mean, it's music that you can play in the background at your workplace, at your home, while you're cooking, while you're driving. We play them in our waiting room here at my office, at Dr. Mary Berge and Associates. And, you know, people always comment to me, like, oh my God, I almost fell asleep out there in the waiting room. It's just this, you know, I was driving here, I was so anxious and I was in tears. And then I sat, you know, I got here early and I sat for 15 minutes and I just feel so calm now. It's the alpha waves.
Wow.
The alpha waves. Yeah.
That's
So,
just,
so
that's
creating your
amazing.
environment, you know,
That's
with
amazing.
the scent and the sound, but also what Rene said too, you know, what you see is important. So if you're watching this right now, you know, on our recording, I want you to take a look around your room that you're in. Maybe you're in your office, maybe you're on your couch, and determine for a moment, does it look peaceful? Does it look calm? Is it soothing? I'm at my desk right now working on some things, and so I've got papers everywhere. But at the end of my day today, I almost always tidy up my office so that when I enter it, I have a sense of calm. I have a sense of, you know, pleasure to be here. If I leave everything strewn about as it is right now, if you can only see, I'll walk into this space and immediately, not anxiety, stress starts to escalate. So my amygdalas might just do a little tingling in there, and it creates a sense of stress because it's disorganized. I have things in my office space in my therapy room, which is next on the other side of this wall. This is my administrative office. When they walk, my patients walk into that room, it is just so beautiful and serene. There are pillows. It's decorated in beautiful fabrics. The lights are low. There's the scents are being wafted into the room. You know, there's a white noise machine outside the door. So everything about it is absolutely calming and soothing for the patient so that I can get in and do the work that I need to do without having them in a high state of arousal. So arousal versus relaxation is what we're talking about.
Wow.
Questions
That's
about that
amazing.
so far, Rene?
No, but I want to come there now and see. Now I want to come in your therapy cave and experience your little womb in there. Maybe I'll come visit you
Yeah. It's
sometime.
beautiful. Someday I'll show it to you.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
So a lot of people also want something more immediate, you know, because all those things are preventative as well as treatment in essence, like self-treatment.
Right.
But some people need something, you know, really quick. You know, you have a response or you're anxious, you've got to, you know, maybe give a speech, you're, you know, anxious, etc. Ways to calm yourself physiologically speaking. So there are a couple different things that you can do really immediately that will help to bring heart rate down, to calm your breathing down, to quiet the amygdalas. And, you know, something that I think is important to know that is if you're stressed or anxious, you often may experience cognitive fog, inability to concentrate, find your words, problem solve. You can't focus, you feel scattered brain. You're like, you've heard people say, I can't even think. I'm so stressed out. I can't think. You can't. You can't, because thinking, the ability to problem solve, the ability to reason and be organized in your thought processes comes from the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is right here. And when the amygdalas are firing, this actually starts to go dark, turn off.
That is so unfair.
It is, because you need this to problem solve.
Yes, that's so unfair.
So it's very common
Okay.
report from people that I can't think straight when I'm
Yeah.
under a lot of stress
Yeah.
or anxious. So when we want to de-stress, or we want to calm ourselves, it's often because we need this in that situation. So turning the amygdalas off will relight the prefrontal cortex back up, so it can be
Wow.
functioning. So one of the things you can do is a quick deep breathing exercise. If you're stressed out, you're anxious about something, or even in preparation for something that's going to be anxiety producing or stressful. Deep breathing has been found to, again, not only just affect the physiology of you, heart rate, etc., blood pressure, deeper breaths, but it's also been found to psychologically restore people, to make them feel like they got a handle on something. And again, based on what I just told you about the prefrontal cortex, that's because this is working better after deep breathing exercises. And you've got a sense of calm because these are turned off, the amygdala. So the way to do a proper deep breath is to always breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, it's just, I had never researched why that is, but when you breathe in through your nose, you typically can take a slower, deeper breath. At least that's what I believe. Doing this is hard,
Right.
That's
Right.
about all you can get. But when we control through our sinus cavities and passageway a slower breath, you can get more oxygen into your system, probably even through more vessels, and it's closer to your brain than breathing in through your mouth. So it's a more immediate effect to the brain. These are all my theories, at least. So I'm going to teach you how to really kind of do this. So you're going to breathe in through your nose. You're going to hold your breath for 4 or 5 seconds. Your lungs should be at full capacity, and as you practice this, it'll get better. And then breathe out through your mouth as if it's a balloon opening, really slow. Okay, so try to get out all your breath, and we're going to go for a deep breath. Okay, ready? Inhale, very slow. Okay, hold. And breathe out. And do it one more time. Breathe in. Filling up. Holding. And breathe out. I always like to tell people, notice what you experience right now.
I feel more relaxed than I did a second ago. I really do.
Yeah, you might feel a difference in your skin and your
shoulders feel lower. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because when we breathe in, our lungs fill up and we rise, and as we breathe out, you should be naturally just relaxing, but you can also practice that. So that deep breathing exercise is wonderful. It's super easy. If you can't remember, just think of a shape of a box. It's breathe in, hold, exhale, start over. Breathe in, hold, exhale, start over. 3 times usually is good. Do it seated in case you get lightheaded, because I can cause a sense of lightheadedness or tingling for me, because I do it very, very deeply. The more you practice this, the better you get at it, but it really works.
I do that during yoga sometimes. The practice of yoga has a lot to do with breathing.
And then they call it like belly breathing or what have you.
And it's incredible how much breath you can take in and how much breath you can release if you really do it so slow. It's wonderful, but I forget how it just, because when you're in yoga, you're already kind of like, so you don't see such a drastic difference, but just now I could feel that.
I always tell people to check in with their body before and after so that they can notice the difference. Because again, like we were talking before, you're retraining your brain to pick up on the subtleties of what's happened so that it can recognize it easier next time. So always check in with your body.
And you know me, I'm always just like, I'm
Right.
always
And
on the
so,
verge of a party, so it's I need to really
yeah,
I have to think
you do,
about.
because you're keeping everything so
Yeah,
intense that it's
yeah,
good to several times a day do
bring
this.
it down.
You can also just do a basic grounding exercise. So right now, you're probably not aware of a whole lot about your body, but if I say, where are your feet? Don't answer.
Okay. Okay.
Just become aware of your feet. Where are they? And become aware of your feet. Now, all of a sudden, guess what? Your mind is actually visualizing your feet. All of your sensory processing is going to your feet right now, isn't it?
Mhm. Yep, and
All
they're
of a sudden,
cold, and I didn't notice
all
it
of a
until
sudden you
just
can feel them
now.
on the floor. All of a sudden you can feel potentially the
Oh my
blood
gosh.
flow. All of a sudden you can feel your socks or your shoes.
Mhm.
All of a sudden you feel where they meet your ankles. All of a sudden you feel where your ankles meet your calves. All of that you weren't aware of a minute ago.
Mm-mm.
That's a
No.
grounding technique. You can do it with anything. I can say, if your hands are flat on, this will be a great exercise for everybody. Everybody put your hands on your thighs for a minute here.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
want you to become aware of your hands and relax your shoulders as you do it. All of a sudden you're aware of how they lie on your thighs. You may be aware now of a temperature difference between the inside of where your palms meet your thighs versus the top of your hand. Notice the temperature difference. Notice, see if you can relax them a little bit more, and notice if you feel that. So you can do it with any part of your body. You can do it against a chair. All this awareness. This is what we're talking about when I talk about the future and the past.
Mhm.
When you're here doing this grounding technique, this awareness technique, you're being mindful. Mindfulness is being present.
Wow.
Anxiety cannot exist in a mindful state.
Right.
And the art of being mindful is bringing yourself back to the mindful state over and over and over again throughout your day. Because you have to plan, you have to move on with tasks, but teaching yourself how to ground several times a day, do deep breathing exercises to say, I need to be present just for a moment, and bring yourself to a mindful state. Calms the
Yeah,
amygdalas.
I've noticed myself doing that since our session in at the summit
Mhm.
2 weeks ago. I have noticed myself if I'm doing something and I'm starting to feel, I call it flustered, but I have stopped and gone,
Yeah.
like,
Coming
think
back to a
about.
mindful state. Yeah. Quick
And it
little
has
grounding
really helped.
techniques. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does. Quick little grounding techniques like this can be done anywhere,
yeah,
anytime.
yeah,
Deep breathing
yeah.
can be done anywhere, anytime. So these are quick things you can do
Amazing.
when you're stressed or have a little bit of an over anxious response to something, but it really is
Okay.
very helpful.
Amazing.
Um, Another technique is called bilateral sound, and this is particularly helpful for people who have a lot of anxiety or an anxiety disorder, has maybe even have a very stressful situation that they need to stay on alert for, hyper alertness for, because it hasn't ended.
Okay.
Um, Legal issues or and a surgery, something that's coming out. You're going to be anxious because there is a real
Right.
threat in your life, and you don't know the outcome. And so you don't feel like you have control, so it creates anxiety. Anxiety
Sure.
is not necessarily a bad thing. We all
Right.
have it. We just need to know how to manage it. So bilateral sound is a great way to manage it. Bilateral sound is a technique that we use where you put in earbuds or a headset, and you'll hear noise in one ear and then the other, and then one ear and the other. It's typically music or water sounds. And so it's happening to both sides of your body. That's what anything bi in your body stands for. And when this happens, a brain wave crosses over the midline section of the two hemispheres. And I tell patients to put their earbuds in, turn on the bilateral sound, close your eyes, and your eyes will actually begin to track the sound left to right, left to right. Some people are so in tune with their body, they can actually detect the sound wave shape, because sound waves have shape. It might be an arch. It might be a direct left, right. It could be a
No
figure
way.
eight. Yep. If you can do it, you gotta learn just the biofeedback of it, and you really get into it.
Wow.
So
Okay.
by
Okay.
doing this, you close your eyes, you listen to the sound, your eyes will naturally begin to track. The brain
Wow.
wave starts to occur.
Wow.
Bilateral sound and the eye movement is going. The amygdalas cannot compete and they turn off. And when they turn off, this comes back up. And so it's incredibly, like, usually within 3 minutes. I have a particular artist that I like, and his songs are anywhere between 3 minutes and like 15 minutes. So, and they vary. And his name is David Grand, Grand. You can look
Okay.
him up on YouTube. Look for
Okay.
David Grand, brain spotting and bilateral sound, and you'll find all sorts of his stuff. And you can experiment with what works best for you, because different sounds
Okay.
work, well for different people.
Okay. And I can just do this on my phone with my headset.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have it on my phone. I use it in my
Okay.
office with clients. I just go to it and give them the headset.
Amazing.
I use it if I'm particularly stressed. There's all sorts of wonderful things we can just grab on our phone. But yeah, it's just
Amazing.
iTunes and YouTube. YouTube has it for free. So
Okay.
it's also on
Okay.
Spotify. So he's my favorite. He's one of the forefathers of the discovery of this. A lot of times, and I know, Renee, you mentioned this to me before, that you notice that when you're under a lot of stress or you're anxious, that your sleep gets disrupted, and that's
Oof,
normal. It's a
that's
normal.
the worst because I already almost don't have enough
Yeah.
time to sleep as it is. And I need to be able to hit my head on the pillow and go to sleep and wake up when my alarm goes off. And that
Right.
is not the case most of
Yeah,
the
you can be
time.
tired, but as soon as your head hits the pillow, you start thinking. So again,
Yep.
this is probably firing as
Yep.
an alert system, that something, that you just need to think
You're
about
going
it.
to forget this thing you need to do
Yeah, or you're
tomorrow.
just still
Oh,
processing things that you're
yep.
worried about.
Yep.
Or concerned about. But a lot of people will report waking up too early, and that is a direct correlation to what we call anticipatory anxiety. So impending doom, something is happening in your life, something is coming, or you just believe that it is, distorted belief, and you have this sense of impending doom. You wake up too early and then you can't fall back asleep.
That's
So
right.
so one of the things that you can do to help yourself get back to sleep or fall asleep is a progressive body scan. Again, it's really easy. No one will even know you're doing it. And I use it almost every night so that I don't allow my brain to kick on, because I am a thinker, and I do I guess there's just a lot in my mind, a lot. So I'll notice if I don't do it, my brain will habitually try to process information as I'm falling
Right.
asleep, and that keeps me awake. So a progressive body scan averts that from even occurring. So what you do, as soon as you hit the pillow, you start with your scalp and your forehead, and I'll pretend I'm laying down, and you just say to yourself, relax my scalp, relax my forehead. And as soon as you say that, you will realize that you probably were holding some muscle
Yeah.
ever so slightly in your scalp and forehead that we're not even aware of. Our facial muscles are tensing and
Yeah.
and holding all day long. And so even when we get to bed, we're often still holding these muscles until we tell them to relax. And they listen.
Wow.
They listen really, really well. So Renee will run through it really quick. So I just want you to see if you can relax your forehead a little bit more.
Okay.
Notice when it does release. And now see if you can relax your eyelids a little bit, and down into the bridge of your nose. And maybe even across your cheekbones, into your jaw, your lower cheeks. And now go back to your scalp and see if you can release it more, because it may have automatically tensed back up. And now your forehead and eyebrows again, noticing that they were a little tight there for a second. And back down through your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth, and into your neck. You may even feel your head wobble a little. And into your shoulders, relax. See if you can relax those muscles even more. And now back up to your forehead, Relaxing again. Don't fall asleep. Your head's wobbling. Okay, so you get the gist of it. Yeah, I saw you.
Wow.
I
Every
saw
time I
you.
went back to my forehead, I had more to release. That's
Right. It comes back naturally, maybe a little less each time,
yeah.
but it's our muscles have muscle memory.
Wow.
So you
That
think if you're
blows
up,
my mind.
16 hours a day, this is being held all
Yeah.
day. So we need to tell our bodies what to do. It's biofeedback. And so you can learn very quickly. The first few times you do this, and I do like the repeat thing, okay? Some people like to go through their whole body and do this, which is fine. But for
Right.
me, I find if I repeat, from here through here, I fall asleep
I
very,
mean, I could literally feel my neck muscles. I was starting to like,
yeah, bobble. I
I
mean,
was about to
think
just
about the
knock
the
down my
weight,
chair.
think about the weight of our head.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
if you
Especially
totally
someone like you
relax
that
your
has
head,
such a big brain.
I mean, if you try to relax your head, I mean, it's heavy, so our
Wow.
bodies are all day long holding ourselves up, holding this bowling ball that we call a
Yeah.
head up, so
Wow.
teaching our bodies to learn how to relax and to give it that
Let
feedback
go.
every single night, whether you think you're going to have a problem with sleep or not. One of the best techniques you can do to improve sleep and to get to sleep quickly. There's
Yeah.
also a wonderful thing called Snoozecast, SNOOZE cast.com. And it's a podcast. And it's wonderful because they read to you stories that you're familiar with, like Peter Pan, something like that. But it's read by someone who can read like nobody's business and in a soothing voice that absolutely lulls you
Just
to
kind of
sleep.
really
Yeah, it's wonderful.
snooze
So
cast.
Snoozecast.
Okay.
So check it out. Yeah, that's a good one too.
I'll write it down. I've got all
Cool.
this. I've got a whole list here now. I've got Mr. Grand. I've got the bilateral sounds from him. I've got what was the first one?
You're creating an environment,
Yeah,
alpha waves,
alpha waves,
deep
alpha.
breathing and grounding exercises,
Wow,
aromatherapy. All
amazing.
of that. Yeah. I mean, these are the basics that anyone can do that basically cost nothing other than the aromatherapy. Maybe you're going to spruce up your room with some new pillows or something, but
I mean, I have to go to Target now.
minimal cost. If you do I do always forewarn people with the essential oils, try to get something that is called seed to oil. You don't have any, when you look at the ingredients, make sure it's just oil, seed oil,
Right.
whatever,
Okay. So it's
no,
not a bunch
no
of added
additives,
things.
right?
Okay.
I use Young Living, and my favorite essential oil that they provide is called Stress Away. And it's all pre-mixed, and it comes in a roller. They have one called Tranquil. They have one called Sleep Ease that they market for children. So they're a great company. Their stewardship of their product is sheer perfection. So I
That's
trust them.
awesome.
That's who we use here at the office. So I think that's pretty much like 30 minutes
Wow.
of like,
Yes, my
personal
gosh.
wellness and
I
cooking.
feel calmer and more relaxed than I was when we started half an hour ago.
Good.
um, and I thank you so much because
It's
I
been my
know
pleasure.
that these are techniques that our members can do immediately. And I just appreciate you giving them something to work on for the next couple of weeks. And maybe when I come visit you in person, we can do a wrap-up interview and I can give you feedback from what I hear. Everybody tells me when we're done. I'll be back. I'll be up. Well, I don't know if I'll be near you, but I'll be up there in December. Maybe I get to see you for the Steelers game.
All right. That sounds good. It's been a pleasure, Renee.
Thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate your time and I'll see you again soon.
Okay.